Welcome back to Study Tips for IGCSE Biology. Today's topic is related to variations and natural selections. Without further delay, let's begin. In this topic, you will find out about continued and discontinued variation, mutation and what caused it, organisms adapted to their environments, natural selection, and finally, selective breeding. Variation. Variation differences between the features of different individuals are called phenotype variation. Phenotype example, people come in all shapes and sizes like height, weight, and body shape are phenotypes that vary, like hair, eye color, etc. There are two basic kinds of variation, discontinuous variation and continuous variation. Discontinuous variation, example, only 4 blood groups are possible, A, B, AB, and O. So you cannot have a blood group between these 4 groups. So this is the continuous variation example. Continuous variation, example height. There are no definite height that a person must be. People vary in height. One reason for differences between individuals is their genotype are different. This is called genetic variation. Example, blood group are controlled by genes. These are also genes for hair color, eye color, height, and many other characteristics. Another important reason for variation is the difference between the environment of individual. Example, pine trees possess genes that enable them to grow to a height of about 30 meters. But if the pine tree is grown in a very small pot and has root regularly pruned, it will permanently stand. Causes of genetic variation. One is mutation. Mutation creates slightly versions of the same gene called alleles. These small differences in the DNA sequence make every individual unique. The variation can be seen in human hair color, skin color, height, shape, behavior, and susceptibility to disease. Secondly is meiosis. In meiosis, homologous chromosomes exchange genes and separate from one another, so the gametes which are formed are not all exactly the same. And thirdly is fertilization. Possibility of 2 offspring having identical genotype is so small that it can be considered almost impossible. How organisms are adapted to their environments. Every organism has features that help them to survive in its environment. Adaptive features is an inherited features that helps an organism to survive and reproduce in its environment. Adaptive features like fitness and xerophiles. Fitness is the probability of an organism surviving and reproducing in the environment in which it's found. Xerophiles is a plant that are adapted to live in places where water is in short supply. Natural selection. The process whereby organisms better adapted to their environment tend to survive and produce more offspring. The theory of action was first fully expounded by Charles Darwin, and it is now regarded as being the main process that brings about evolution. And then another example of evolution by natural selection can be seen in the way that bacteria may become resistant to antibiotics, such as penicillin. Penicillin works by stopping bacteria from forming cell walls. When a person infected with bacteria is treated with penicillin, the bacteria are unable to grow new cell walls and they burst open. However, the populations of bacteria in the person's body may be several million. The chances of any one of them mutating to a form which is not affected by penicillin is quite low. But because there is so many bacteria, it could well happen. If it is theirs, the mutant bacteria will have a tremendous advantage. It will be able to go on reproducing while all the others cannot. Soon, its descendants may form a huge population of penicillin-resistant bacteria. In fact, this is the reason why there are so many different antibiotics available. If some bacteria become resistant to one, they may be treated with another. If antibiotics are used often, we may end up with a resistant strain of bacteria that are difficult to control. A form of bacteria, Staphylococcus aureus, has become resistant to several different antibiotics and known as MRSA. This can cause infections that are very difficult to treat. Natural selection does not always produce change, but ensures that the organisms which are best adapted to the environment will survive. Change will only occur if the environment changes or if new mutation appears which adapts the organism better to existing environment. Sickle cell anemia and reasons for its distribution. A genetic disease called sickle cell anemia is a good example of how natural selection can work in humans. The cause of sickle cell distribution, SCD, is a defective gene called a sticky cell gene. People with the disease are born with two sickle cell genes, one from each parent. If you are born with one sickle cell gene, it is called sickle cell trait. SCD affects approximately 100,000 Americans. SCD occurs among about 1 out of every 365 Black of African American birth. SCD occurs among about 1 out of every 16,300 Hispanic American birth. About 1 in 13 Black or African American babies is born with sickle cell trait. Sickle cell disease is caused by mutation in beta-globin HBB gene that lead to the production of an abnormal version of a subunit of hemoglobin, the protein which is responsible for carrying oxygen in the red blood cells. Sickle cell anemia is a dangerous disease. The SCD population has a lower mortality related to malaria compared to non-SCD population. Meanwhile, within SCD population, those admitted with malaria are twice more likely to die than those admitted for other pathologies. Selective breeding. Humans can also bring about changes in living organisms by selecting certain individuals for breeding. For example, of the result of this kind of selection from the very individual amongst a herd of cattle, the breeder chooses the one with the characteristic he or she wants to appear in the next generation. He or she then allows this individual and not the others to breed. If this selection process is repeated over many generations, so this characteristic will become the most common one in the population. So this process is called artificial selection. Some farmers are now beginning to think differently about the characteristic they want in their animals and plants instead of enormous yield as their first priority. They are now looking for varieties which can grow well with less fertilizer or pesticides in the case of food plants and with less expensive housing and feeding in the case animals. Luckily, many of the older breeds which has this characteristic have been conserved and can now be used to breed new varieties with easy case characteristics. With that being said, I would like to end my presentation. I hope you are happy studying and please subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.